Well, hello, guys, and welcome to August's Wine and Witchcraft. So, I don't think I need to introduce her because, everybody knows her. We have the lovely, the one and only Miss Owlvine Green with us tonight.
Hello. Hello.
So, we were just talking in the studio about the difference between, Australia and the U.S. and Miss Owlvine was telling us that it's 10 something in the morning there.
It's actually just hit 11 exactly, so it's 11 a.m.
11 o'clock in the morning, and she's in the future because it's Tuesday, which I thought was so cool. So we're going to be talking tonight with Miss Owlvine about modern witchcraft and all the stuff that comes along with all that good stuff. So, Justin, what do you got straight on the topic for modern witchcraft talk?
Okay. We already have some Star Dancer 58 is saying hello. I don't know. I don't even think we showed her how to look at the comments. I think that you should be able to see. You can't see them.
Hang on. I got him. I do.
Okay, perfect. So you should be able to see who. I'm like, oh, we did not even show her that. So today we're talking about being modern witches in 2020 and what that means. And I just have a couple of things written down. Like, I think a good way to talk about it, like as an introductory, is pressures like to be witchy 24/7. Like I feel that way. Like everything that I do in my mundane life is like supposed to be witchy somehow. Driving to work or stepping outside the car, a bird flying over my head. Somehow I feel like an innate need for it to be witchy. I don't know if you guys have that same feeling, and I don't know if it's just
I do.
That modern time, or if I'm just, pulling, like stretching it too far.
No, I think
I do.
Yeah, I everyone that I've ever spoken to about this, not that I've spoken to everyone about it, but every witch that I've had this, like 100%, like we all have that pressure. And, and actually it was a thing that I noticed. So I grew up as a Christian and I was very heavily involved in the church, in my later teenage years. Like that's when I kind of came to it, and I was, I had a lot of friends and all this sort of thing. Anyway, but there was the pressure there as well. It was the same thing. It was like, are you being a Christian enough? Are you doing all the things every day and all the time? And so I think it probably is very much a modern day thing, but it's definitely not just for witches. And it's interesting. It's like we're always we've always got to prove ourselves. We feel like we need to prove it to ourselves, and then we can tell other people like all the things that we do all the time. When they ask us, we're like, well, let me tell you about my witchy life. Like I do all the things. And I think there can be a positive to it. Like I know for me, it has motivated me to continue learning, to continue growing and trying new things and all that kind of stuff. But obviously all of us are aware of the negatives, which is like, feeling shitty about yourself. And then it's almost like the extreme of like, if you're not doing enough, then what's the point of doing anything, and all this kind of messy stuff. So yeah, but I think probably all of us like feel that to some level, until we get to the point where we can let that go. But I mean, I still feel it fairly regularly.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I feel like, Justin, like you were saying, I feel like I have to driving to work should be witchy in some way, shape, or form. I mean, the same thing with me. So I try to like consciously, when I'm leaving my house, leaving the threshold of my front door, like, what animals can I find? Like, are they speaking to me? Like I should like tune into that, and then I'm driving like, oh, a hawk just drove over my car. What does that mean? Like, like I have to tap into these things.
Yeah,
I do, because that's kind of the pressure. Like, I feel like if I don't pay attention to these things, then I'm just a bad witch. I'm wrong because I'm not paying attention to the animal allies around me. It's that pressure that everything you do has to be like, every breath you take and everything you see has to be witchy.
Well, I think it also, it's, I don't know. I kind of feel like too, I never even made the connection between like being a good Christian, because I grew up in a very religious household, like Southern Baptist. And it is kind of that same innate need to like, maybe not only prove yourself to like other people and yourself, but maybe even to like deity or spirit, like to prove your practice is valid. And then I don't know, I kind of feel like it's almost intensified a little bit since I've started being like more public with my practice, like on Instagram and YouTube. Like, okay, well, I do it this way. Is this like the right way? Like, is somebody who knows more gonna like tell me I'm doing it wrong? Like, I don't know, like this pressure that everything that I do has to be like elevated in some way. And I'm just like, I'm just some dumb fat bitch from the South doing witchcraft. I don't know shit. Okay. I'm just doing what I do. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel. But I still kind of like feel that pressure. That's like, you know, my aloe plant out front is dying. Is that like, am I being hexed or am I just not watering it enough? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like stupid shit.
Yeah, I think you brought up an excellent point too. Like, I think social media has blown this out of the water. Like, I didn't have the whole social media stuff when I was a Christian, but I think, like, you know, because you're constantly under pressure to like post things and like post new things and post beautiful things and, you know, talk about this and the new thing, and you can't just be talking about the same topic all the time and like bleh. And like that's actually one of the reasons I felt like I needed to step back from Instagram. I was just like it was a little different, but like I just hated it. Felt like it was muddying my practice. Like I felt like I was then thinking about my practice like in the way that someone else, you know, I was like moving things around and like, well, if I just move this slightly and that slightly and that slightly, that's much more pleasing. And then like I'm thinking about things through that lens and I was like, I can't, like this has got to go. Like I was just, and I was feeling so like hungry for like real. Like I was like, I want the realness on Instagram. But then I was like, well, why am I looking for on Instagram? Like I've got my practice right here. If I just shut all that shit down, and that's just been, and that's why I haven't desired to go back yet. Cause I'm like, I don't have to then answer to anyone. I'm not trying to prove anything. And even when I go on there and go, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to change anything around. I'm not going to think about other people. I'm just going to share what I do. It inevitably sneaks in, you know, and you do. You're like, well, I change this slightly, then I get more likes or more whatever. Yes. And it just, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's definitely a huge part of why we feel under so much pressure as well, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the social media thing is difficult because, I mean, I have Instagram and I do use it a lot, but I see a lot of these pictures that people are taking that's not really of their practice. It's just of aesthetics. You know, they have like pictures now that somewhat move with smoke coming out of a cauldron now that you can create and all this like weird stuff. And I'm just like, is this really necessary? Like, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. But is it necessary? You know, because then we feel like I know it's just a picture that someone's taking for aesthetics, but I find myself saying, "Oh, I need to have a cauldron that smokes like that with all this, you know, antique aged looking." You know what I mean? Like, and I don't, but that's how it has become. That, you know, our craft has become some aesthetic, you know, and that can weigh pressure like on you as a witch. Like, I have to do things all so witchy. Well, really, what constitutes witchy? That can mean 17 million different things to 10 different people. You know, so it's one of those things where I too feel the same thing. And I also feel, you know, the pressure from YouTube as well. You know, like Justin and I were talking about, you know, hey, have you released a video recently? I'm like, nah, it's been like, you know, 7 or 8 days. And we're like, yeah, you got to get on that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if I'm not releasing a video at least once a week, then I'm like bad. You know what I mean? Like, I need to give my audience something to watch, you know, and there, don't get me wrong. I love YouTube. I'm not quitting. I never will quit. I love it. I adore it. I love the community. I love making videos, but there is that pressure. Like, I feel like I have to put up for a while there, I had felt like I had to put up a witchy video. And I'm like, there's more to me than just witchcraft. Yeah, I'm a witch, but I'm still Brittany. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still just a woman trying to live my life. Like, can't I just post a video about skincare? But when I do, it doesn't get any views. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's that pressure too that you have to have the most witchy content on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. It's like, why?
I don't know, the witches of Instagram thing is real though. Like, I don't know, before I came back to YouTube, that's what I was doing, like mainly just being like an Instagram witch, whatever that means. Like, I hate that term, because like getting older and coming back to witchcraft 2 years ago, like my practice was maturing outside of like all like the social media shit. And then, you know, going on Instagram, it is about that, you know, okay, I'm doing a working and I need, okay, well, if I move the rose here, just like what you were saying, if you move this, it's beautiful. Or if I do a shot this way, you can see the smoke from the incense, and then it gets hundreds of likes and everybody loves it. And then you just post like a real, actual, natural picture and it's like 6 likes, like nobody's there. And it does start to fuck with your head. And then it's like, you know, like we were talking about in the studio, I had surgery like 4 weeks ago, and me and Brittany were talking about how I was telling her, it's like, I really don't care to post. Like I post promotion for this show. I don't know, like since I haven't done it, it's like been a relief to like not feel like, I don't want to feel like when I go to my altar space or I'm doing something that I have like, that it's creeping in my head. Well, how can I make this attractive? Because I feel like it makes it less authentic, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, are my intentions good? Like, I don't know. You know, it's like that's got to go. Like, I need to back off of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's messy. It's hard, isn't it? Because it's like, it's so enjoyable on one level, of course. We wouldn't be doing it, you know, if it wasn't predominantly. But like, yeah, there's just that. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I think, I don't know. The answer that I've found so far is just to take breaks from time to time, you know, when it is starting to fuck with your head. And that's another one of the reasons I stepped back from YouTube. I was just like, there is so much noise in my head from everyone else, and I just need my practice for me. Like I need to just fuck all this off and just be here, me, and that's it. And it took me so long to come back because I'm like, I'm really enjoying this. Like I just like to just have it for me, you know. And I kind of got the message to come back a bit and stuff, and like, so I'm not feeling fully here with it all yet, like I was before, where I was just like, you know, loving being on, you know, the internet and stuff. And I'm still a big consumer. Like I love YouTube, and I'm always so excited when you guys, by the way, no pressure, but when either of you upload a video, I'm like, hell yes, get to watch that after every day. I'm so excited. It's like a little treat, you know. And I've got a few others, but there aren't a lot that I really enjoy, and I'm trying to kind of figure out what that is. And anyway, that doesn't really matter. But yeah, there's not that many people that I really enjoy watching anymore. And I think there's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to shit on anyone, but like, I just, yeah, I don't know. There's
well, over time, I think what's happened though is as you've evolved as a witch and just as a student of witchcraft, you have weeded out the people that are not necessary for your evolution is kind of what has happened, and your personal entertainment as well. I mean, I've done the same thing where I've subscribed to someone because at that time, at stage in my witchcraft, I was like, oh, this person's awesome. And then as I moved on and I grew, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. You know what I mean? It's like unsub, and it's not personal. It's just I feel like I've outgrown that person or that channel or whatever, and I find that happens quite a lot. And then I find myself subscribing to people that I didn't think I would ever subscribe to because I wasn't really at their level yet. You know what I mean? Like, so I was there, they were kind of just too off for me. But the more I grew, I'm like, actually, I kind of like this person, you know. And then I'll find myself subscribing later down in time. But I mean, it's the same thing with us. I remember when I first found you, I was teaching in the academy, and we used to go into classrooms to study our content, to teach the class the next day. And I took my phone. I had the iPad, the company iPad, and I had it like this against the door, and I had my phone, and I was secretly, I had an earbud in, and I was watching, like binge watching all your videos. I didn't study a damn thing for the class. I was just Owlvine over like for the whole entire day. Like people come in, they're like, Brittany, you done yet? No, I'm still studying. I got a lot to do. I'm going to need this classroom for the whole day. And I would do that all for a good week, I think, to catch up on every single video from you, because I had just come back to YouTube after being gone for like a decade. So you were all new to me. So, you know, I had to watch every single video, like completely all the way through from beginning to end. So I did it in my work time, you know, trying to balance, you know, that time. But I totally did it at work. I totally had earpods, you know, Owlvine earpods in my ears. That was the thing. It still is the thing. Every time you release a video, when you came back, I'm like, oh, thank you, goddess.
Yeah, Brittany was like, did you see Owlvine posted a video? And I was like, yeah, I just finished it. You lazy bitch. You're late to the party.
How dare you watch it before me? What the hell?
But I mean, I do. I do feel like what you're saying, like, I don't know. I'm not going to shit on anybody, but I kind of feel like when your mindset changes, you can feel people's bullshit and you can kind of feel people's intentions and whether they're good or not. I think a lot of people this is just my opinion, use witchcraft as a means to sell or make money for themselves. And that's kind of just how I feel.
What you're talking about charlatans?
That, or just like, some people are just in it for the clout.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, it is what it is. And, I put on here like modern aesthetics and how like the witchy vibe affects, our need or how we feel we need to be witches in 2021. But I don't know, I kind of have mixed feelings about aesthetics because I feel like it's helpful, but also not at the same time. Like, I feel like it helps us. I feel like it helps us feel witchy or put us in like the right mindset or get us in the right groove. But at the same time, I think it's very easy for people who aren't or do not identify as witches or aren't in the craft, see that and think that a simple thing makes you a witch. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like, I think for me, I think witchcraft is a craft. Like, you have to do it. It's an action. It's an action word. It's not just like, hanging up a pentacle or wearing a crystal. I mean, to me anyway, I think it can be much more advanced than that. So sometimes I think the aesthetic or, the version that, the mass media may show gives a wrong impression about what witches actually are.
I think the stuff is most certainly can be a distraction.
Yeah.
And from a very personal point of view as well. And I've gone through this, and I think probably most of us have had maybe periods of time where it's like you're just focused on consuming and getting the new thing and like filling up and like making sure you have enough of this and that and whatever. And you're not actually doing, and I agree with you 100%, like witchcraft is a craft, and it's weird that it's come to mean so many different things now, but all right.
Right.
And and then if you're not, and it's not that you have to do a certain amount of things, because we're talking about pressure and all the things as well, but just, I think if you are feeling connected, that's all that matters. And so like sometimes that is in the consuming of things, and that can be a wonderful thing. And then when it becomes a distraction, it's a problem. And if you are just going through the motion of doing all the things and you're not feeling connection, then that's a problem as well. And so finding that sort of spot. And I think, the stuff is an interesting thing, because I think that's partially what has blown witchcraft wide open now, and why it's so popular is because there's all this stuff, and it's lovely. And I've got to say, and I made a video about this, like being in Australia in a place where we didn't have much access, because it's so popular now, we have access to stuff. And I'm like, I can try all these things that I've been reading about for years now, I've got these tools, and it's all really fun, but 100%, like you really don't need the stuff. And it's so easy to think that you do, especially if you spend time on social media, where we're all showing each other our stuff, and or it's a visual platform like Instagram, where it's like it's about the pretty stuff. Like if you don't have the pretty stuff, like it's like it's a visual platform. I don't know. So it gets messy. I don't know. It is. It's a bit,
I mean, I can totally relate to that. I mean, years ago when I was first coming into witchcraft, I started YouTube like 13 years ago. And it started off like, oh, well, I'm Wiccan and everything's great. And then it's like, okay, well, so-and-so bought a crystal, so I need to go buy it. And then, well, she bought this one, and then I got to buy it, because if I don't have it, then am I a real witch? Or like, am I comparable to this person? Yeah, that can be a very dangerous game.
Definitely.
Yeah, as we've seen.
There's been a lot of conversations about this actually in the tarot community lately. Don't mind my chair, it just spontaneously goes on. Let's go. Anyway. So if I disappear from you, you know why. A lot of tarot people have been chatting about this lately, like the consuming of decks, and like just having to buy another deck and another deck and another deck. And we're actually all like selling to each other. Like, this is the thing about social media now, is like traditional marketing is like who watches ads really, but it's like the ads are, hey, I got this new deck. It's amazing, you guys. You have to, get this or whatever, this book or this la la la. And yeah, I don't know. It's like someone said that it was like, we want to have connection with the person often, that we're seeing this thing from. So like, if there's someone who enjoys your videos and you share about this, I'm just thinking of this Hecate statue, right? And they're like, I just really like, and it's on such a subconscious level, but it's like, I really like Justin, and I just like, I don't know, there's like a thing there, and it's more personal than it used to be. They used to use celebrities to sell stuff, and no doubt that's still a thing, but it's like now we're selling to each other. I don't know, it's just it's a modern problem. Yeah.
I mean, between Justin and I, that happens frequently. I'll be like, oh my God, check out this Oracle deck. I'd be like, oh my God, I so want. And they were like, oh, in my cart. You know what I mean? Like it does. It happened today. I found an Oracle deck. No, it was a tarot deck that I liked. And I'm like, I have to get this. And he's like, oh my God, if I could spend money right now, I would totally buy that. And it was just like, it's going between him and I, or a good example, Owlvine, is your cute little tiny cottage house. That's a good example. It's in your intro, and it is the cutest thing. And I saw it on Amazon, and I was going to get it, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not going to do it. I'm like, I love the concept of it. I just love it because that connection, like you're saying, you want to connect with that person, but also it's just so fucking cute. I'm like, I have to have a cone incense burn. It's a little cottage. I mean, how could you not? So, so I went on Etsy, and I was just browsing, and I found that. I think it's the same site that you and I were looking at. And I found this because they had the little chimeneas. I don't know how you pronounce it.
So chimney, I think it is. I don't
know. Yeah. They had, oh my God, and little wood stoves and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this lady, whoever this owner of this shop is so fucking adorable. But the idea was planted from a simple 5-second intro that you have where you're, you get the thing going. And I'm like, that is so adorbs. But it's that connection. Like if you hadn't had that, I probably wouldn't have a fucking cottage smoke little, little incense burner, but the fucking thing is so magical. I fucking love it. You know what I mean? It's great.
And that's like what Justin was saying as well, is like the things, I think you were saying it, or I thought it when I looked at you. Anyway, but it's like the stuff can, it can enhance, you did say it, this stuff can enhance your practice. There are those things, and it's like, if it's a problem, it's a problem. And if it's not, it's not. But I think that's one of those things that's like so personal, and you've got to really be honest with yourself, and it can be so easy to be delusional in that way, and it can take time to figure out that you are being delusional, and not actually connecting with your craft the way you want to.
Well, it's because like I was buying like tarot and oracle, and I don't have a lot because I'm not a collector, and like innately I just feel like, what am I going to do with all these cards? Like I see people on YouTube and Instagram, it's like, okay, here's my whole wall of all these decks. I'm like, well, shit, what do you do with all that? But then at the same time, it's like a couple weeks later, I'm like looking at all my books, and I'm like, okay, I haven't read that one yet. I haven't read that one yet. So what the fuck am I doing with all these books? I had 9 books that I bought, and I haven't even fucking opened it. Why? Why? So then I made a pledge. Me and Brittany did to each other. Like, we're not buying any more books until we have read everything we already have. What is wrong? Like, it was so subconscious I didn't even realize it. I was literally just cleaning off the whole altar and my everything, cleaning everything down. And it just like, what am I doing? It's like, I guess I was realizing that I was delusional and, I can't do this. And then 2 days later, I'm like, I really want this book. And she's like, you fucking asshole. You just said, I was like, you're right, which I haven't. But it's so weird how that happens. Cause you're right. It is very like subconscious. It's not something you're actively trying to do. It's, I don't know if it's just so innate in our society to just like consume things. I don't know, but I haven't bought any more books.
For me, it was the tarot and oracle thing. I remember when I first started out really getting into divination, and I realized that tarot and oracle was definitely going to be my go-to, along with a couple other things. But that was my hardcore go-to. I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm only going to have 12 oracle decks and 12 tarot decks, one for each month of the year. And then so every month I'll change. And for a while, that system kind of worked. Then I reached 12 tarot and I reached 12 oracle and 13 and 14. And so I'm like, all right, well, what we'll do is, and I'm rationalizing in my head, because what I do is, on New Year's Eve every year, I make out I write down all the tarot decks, all the oracle decks, and put numbers of the months next to them. And then when it comes that month to switch, that way I get use out of all my decks. And for the most part, it has worked. But I think now I'm at like 17 and 17. And I'm like, like, I don't know how I'm going to wing this, but I can't stop because, like, someone puts out this gorgeous deck that I felt drawn to, that I felt connected to, like the Santa Morte tarot deck I got yesterday. And I'm like, why didn't I buy this 6 months ago? I love this deck. But, it's like one of those things where I can't stop. 12 was supposed to be my number. I was like, I'm not going to buy 13. I'm going to give one away to get to always keep 12 and 12. Yeah, that went out the window like a year ago.
It's funny. When you were talking about the books, Justin, this came into my head, and I'm just wondering how this would apply to you, Brittany, like in this situation. But my very first magical teacher taught me something that's always stuck with me, and it was that, and it's kind of a mundane thing too, but like when we want to be something, what most of us do is we buy the thing that represents that thing because that's the easiest thing to do. So I'm like you with books. I've got there's a lot of books and I'm constantly like, it's so bad. I've actually got, after watching both of y'all, all right, I've got the magic, hang on. Oh, by Madame Pabmita. What's the book? The Candle Magic.
Yeah.
I've been looking at it for ages, and then I was like, God damn it, I'm gonna. So but it's that, like, like I want the knowledge. Like, knowledge is something that's always been really important to me. Like, I have this big shadow around not wanting to be stupid or to be seen as stupid, and like, so I, the books represent this knowledge, and it's like this constant compulsion to buy them. And I'm being careful with my reading, but at the same time, I'm definitely buying faster than I'm reading, and so, and with the Oracle decks, like, I mean, obviously that's something to, maybe it applies, maybe it doesn't, but all of these things. So when it's the same with when we buy, I think all the witchy stuff, all the herbs or lots of candles or whatever it is, it's like, it's representing us being that amazing witch that we all dream of being, or whatever it is, so it's like being able to step back and, it's because it's be, do, have, right? Like, so you be the thing, and then you do the thing, and then you have the thing that you want. But we often do have, and then, I don't know, do, and then be a lot of the time. Yeah.
Have, sit, wait, maybe do.
Everything. Right,
and I can totally relate to that, you saying that you don't want to look, innately stupid. So you want to have all this knowledge, because that's kind of how I felt when I found out my heritage, when I found out that I was 52%, Irish in the part of Ireland I came from and everything. I think for me, that was my biggest grab to all the Celtic books, all the traditions, because I'm like, well, I don't want to be that stupid Irish American person. Like, I want to know everything I can possibly know about my culture, because I was brought up with my parents telling me I wasn't Irish at all on purpose. Like, they were hiding it from me. So now, at almost 40 years old, I'm like, give me knowledge. I'm like a sponge. So I bought like all these books on, Irish witchcraft, and I've just gotten through one. And it's that, because I don't want to be that Irish American that's like, you know what I mean? And I don't know anything about, my heritage or how to incorporate my heritage into my craft, because my craft is a huge part of who I am. So, there's that thing too, where I have these books because I feel like if I read these books, which is true, I mean, you learn from these books, but, I have to have them because I have to be that witch that learns as much as she possibly can in her lifespan. And that's, I don't want to come off to anybody else as being uneducated. So I feel like the more knowledge I have, they say knowledge is power, which is true. There's nothing wrong with books, but like my Amazon cart right now is ridiculous, because I'm connecting with Santa Morte, and I have all these Santa Morte books in my my shopping cart, which I'm not buying. I promise I'm not doing it, but they are in my shopping cart, and they'll probably be in there for about 6 months or more. But I feel like to learn more about her, I'm utilizing people who are devotees of her. I'm learning from YouTube. I'm learning from friends. But then you learn from the books as well, from the people that have experienced it and written those books. So books are a little bit different, I think, than tarot and oracle, because you can still do divination without tarot and oracle. But knowledge comes from books as well as everything else around you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I think...
go
ahead, Owlvine. No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just going to ramble about something. I was just going to like let it open. So you go.
I was just going to say, thinking about like knowledge, trying not to be innately stupid or come off as that. I don't know how everyone else feels, but I kind of like have this, I think it's going to sound so stupid, but like my dream is just to be smart enough and skilled enough to be like that old witch in the woods living in a hut. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do know what you're saying. Yes.
Like, when am I going to be able to be like the aunts in Practical Magic? Or like, when is that going to be me? Like, when am I going to be smart enough and skilled enough and not have to look shit up in a fucking book? You know? And then I like, it made me think of this because I wrote down here BOS, because I'm horrible at like keeping a book of shadows or a grimoire. I'm terrible at it. But every time I see one or I watch a movie, I'm like, that is so beautiful and that's so smart. Why am I so fucking lazy?
I know.
All right. BOS. Let's talk BOS for a second, okay?
Yeah, let's
I haven't brought this up. Okay, so there's obviously, the whole thing now, the Instagram BOS, the practical.
Yes.
Like, you know, okay, I tried to do that in several different ways. So I had, I did share it way back at the start. I had like this book with some gessoed paper and, you know, painted white, and was doing all these things in it or whatever. That didn't keep up for long. And then I tried one that was a binder, which I still have, but I don't use it. It was very pretty, but I'm just like, ugh. What works for me? Because I'm like, I'm not keeping records of stuff because it is too goddamn difficult. And then like you're drawing the things in there and they're all staying on the pages and they're all out of order. And it's like, you know, you're trying to make this thing and then you can't put stuff in there because that's the wrong spot. And it's just ridiculous. Right. So these are my books of shadow. And these are the most fucking magical books that I have. So they're 5 subject or whatever. Is that right? Yeah, I can count. And I've got them in just broken up into different bits, and it's not pretty. Like it's okay. That one I tried to be pretty for a minute, but it's literally just like, it's literally like I just write the things down. So there's recipes, there's spells, there's ideas that I have. I don't try and make it pretty. I just fucking put it in there. I've got a journal section in there. I put like bits and pieces, and then, you know, someone asked me for, you know, because I work with a lot of people, someone asked me, I need a spell for whatever. I'm like, let me go check my gross book over here. And it's like, when I open it up, I'm like, it's so magical because of the content, not because of what it looks like, you know? And like, I think it's amazing to spend time crafting. So I'm not shitting on anyone who does, but like, I just don't have the time or the energy or the patience to sit there and spend 2 hours on a page, which looks incredible. And it's amazing to go back to, but like, I need to jot it down. I need to just write the shit down and keep going, you know? So BOS like this. Instagram hates it, but it's,
I wish I could do that. Like, I honestly wish I could do that kind of just have a notebook and just write whatever. But for me, like even the wrong spelling where I scribble something out, like bothers me up here. And it's not even about, because I don't show my book of shadows to anybody. I don't. But it's up here that I'm like, okay, there's a scribble there. You know, it's not even really about having it look like the Charmed Book of Shadows for me anymore. But like even my handwriting sucks. I'm like, fuck this. I can't do it. You know what I mean? So I got to find a way. And the best way that has worked for me is like the Book of Shadows scrapbooking kind of thing, where I'm taking stuff in bits and pieces from the internet, from my own, you know, typing up on the computer, and just not writing at all. Just not writing, just printing it all out, glue sticking it in with cute little ribbons and, you know, scrapbooky stuff. Because that way I kind of get my own thing in there. I don't have to write with my handwriting. I don't have to have the ink and pen scribble scrabble. And, you know, I can just make it still kind of fun and cute. But it's honestly, I started it and it does look amazing, but then I just kind of stopped, you know, because it goes into like that finding the time. Like, and even Justin and I were talking about, you know, he'll do a spell for something that works fabulously. And then he'll be like, well, shit, what the hell did I put in there? Like, what herbs did I put in there? I know it was like this and this, but was there cinnamon? No, there wasn't cinnamon. Like, there's that whole entire, wait, that was a year ago and it worked. What, you know, so there's that whole record keeping aspect of it that I feel like is so important, because we're not going to remember a spell that we did a year ago. Are you kidding me? No.
You always think you will. You're like, oh, remember this. Then you're like, damn, like I've done 20 things since then. What was it?
I mean, I was doing working for something here on YouTube. And so like I had started it, I was getting success. And so I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do it again. And Brittany and I have a private chat. We talk to each other constantly. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm not over time, like it's not happening the same. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me just like look at everything. I'm very analytical. So, okay, let me look at everything, see how I did it. Like, cause everything doesn't always work the same every time, regardless of whether you do it the same, but I'm going to just make sure everything's right. And of course I didn't write anything down. I was just going off my memory. And this was like 7 months later. And so I'm like scrolling through our chat. I'm like, Jesus fuck. Okay, come on. And I get to it and I'm like, I literally did nothing the same. It was all fucking different. It was a shit show. And I'm like, I know I should be writing it down. And I have, where is it? It's right here. I have this. And I was like, this is compact, you know? This is great. This will work perfectly for me. Yeah, no. I have some runes written in here. I mean, yeah. And then stuff about oils. Other than that, it's empty. So yeah. I think I just, like you're saying, I need to get out of that mindset and just make it more accessible. I even thought about just starting writing stuff in my notes in my iPhone and just keeping it there because I'm lazy. I don't have the time. I work 2 jobs, but at the same time, it's just like, I really do need some sort of record of the shit that goes successfully. How the hell am I ever going to do it again?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that goes to the really tarot important thing too. Is when you do tarot, you want to keep track of when you do a spread and it's amazing. And then you can't, I have nothing to look back on. And that's why I'm going to start a tarot journal because I want to be able to look back on these spreads that I did that I'm like, oh my God, remember that time that I had that question and I did, the divination for that. I want to have that record keeping. So I'm going to try to make a conscious effort, like a serious conscious effort to start off at least journaling and keeping track of tarot and oracle first, and then just see maybe where the Book of Shadows thing goes.
That's a good idea. I think the important thing is like, just find what works for you. Like take the pressure off that it needs to be pretty or that it needs to be complete or that it needs to be detailed or like whatever it is that's actually because you're like, well, if I'm not doing it anyway, clearly this isn't working. So how can I try something different? And I've gone through many different, I've talked about 3, but I've tried different things over the years because I'm like, and I just stopped for long periods of time and then I'm like, I'll try again. You just got to find, those things that work. And I do the same. I do write stuff in my phone notes as well. And then when I can get to it, like if I'm out and about or if I think of something or even if I just can't be bothered opening the book or whatever, and maybe I'll transcribe it later. I don't write down everything. I've taken that pressure off myself as well. And you've just got to find those things that make it work for you and just, the hell with the rest,
Yeah, and I think we feel like we have to live up to these, the charmed Book of Shadows, and and there are people out there that they find that the craft and the witchy aesthetic and in the charmed, practical magic Book of Shadows does work for them, and I'm envious the fact that they have the time, they have the skill, they have the want to do that because I wish I did, but I don't. But I think we need to get to the point, like you were saying, Owlvine, that you got to get to the point where the information is more important than the aesthetic. Because really, are you going to the local street corner and showing everybody your Book of Shadows? No. So, I mean, really, you're the only one that cracks it open. So in the end, really, why does it matter what the hell it looks like? I mean, it's very true.
Yeah. Well, I did want to just go over, I mean, we've been in such conversation. I haven't really been paying attention to the comments. So I'm very sorry, everybody. Let's see. No, that's okay. We have Gemini Grey Wolf, Summer's Day, Tulip Moon. I believe Noah is in here as well. Hello, Noah. Tulip said you could always voice record what you're doing and then write it down later. I never thought about doing that, actually.
That's a good idea.
It's a good tip.
Yeah. Let's see what else is on here. Books are an addiction for me. I feel you on that. Yeah. And, kind of the same topic of like pressure for Book of Shadows or making everyday witchy. I still go like hot and cold with a daily practice. And if every morning I feel guilty if I already feel like, okay, so I already feel like Hecate's pissed. That's just how I feel because Okay, so I had surgery a month ago. I wasn't going to talk about it, but now I feel like I'm going to talk about it. So I had bariatric. I had bariatric surgery in July. So I had the gastric sleeve done. So someone said, "You look fantastic." I've lost 30 pounds, so there's a little bit less of me to see. Thank God. So during my recovery, I've kind of just been like out of it completely, and not really understanding why. And my daily practices kind of just went like, and I just feel so much guilt about it. But at the same time, it's not enough to make me better it, And I just feel like as a witch, I should have a standard for myself. But, Noah's saying witchcraft is difficult or as complex as you make it. So maybe I'm my own worst enemy, which maybe I'm just coming to that realization.
So did you have a daily practice before your surgery though, Justin? Like, yes. Did you do something every day? Yeah,
every day. Every morning I would wake up. I had certain prayers. It was very religious in a way. Mm-hmm. I feel like, based on like my experience with Christianity, of what I would do. I have an altar for Hecate, so I would go to the altar and do certain prayers and things I would do in the morning. And then I would move over to the altar and wake up everything and talk to all my ancestors, do whatever I needed to do for the day, meditate, whatever. And I would do that every morning. And then since surgery, it's just kind of been like, hey, like that sound from where, I don't know if it's TikTok or where it's from, like, hey, how you doing? Like, we haven't talked in a while. Hey.
But and you have no idea why that is?
No, I am one of those people where I feel like, again, I made a video about why I'm a bad witch, and I should have included this, but I feel like I'm a bad witch, or like not as whatever valid, because in my time of like need, or when I'm hurting or I'm sad, I often find that I don't turn to my craft. Like I just turn internally. And then once I start working through that, on the other end is when I then start, talking to God, or, whatever. And I've always been that way. And it's one of the things I dislike the most, but yeah.
I mean, I can relate. I mean, I know we weren't going to talk about it, but well, I guess since the cat's out of the bag, we'll talk about it. I too had surgery, not gastric bypass surgery, though. I didn't have the sleeve. I'm not going to really get into the surgery, but it required many stitches and skin removal and a lot of things. Okay, like 200 stitches. So, and I just had it on Tuesday, and I've been in my bed for since Tuesday. Since I got home, I've been in my bed, and I tried to come in here, and I walked in here, and I'm like, yeah, no. And I walked back down the hallway, went back to bed, and then yesterday the food trucks were in our local community. So I'm like, oh, let's go to the food trucks. I'm like, because when you're sitting in bed, you feel like you're well enough to go do something, because I wasn't moving much. So I go to the food trucks, and I'm like waiting in line to get my burrito. And I'm like, yeah, fuck this. Like, abort mission, abort, we're not doing this. So I ended up back in bed, so it's just one of those things where, I kind of do the same thing, where you would think with what I'm going through, with my surgery, I'd come in here and I'd be doing things, healing work and stuff like that, because I want to I'm only on day, 5 or 6 of the surgery. I want to be on day like 20. I want to skip this whole recovery situation. So you would think I would do some kind of spiritual work to kind of not speed it along, but help it along, and I'm not. And videos, I still have 3 videos of witchy room walks to make that I haven't even done. I have like a whole list of all these ideas I've been writing down for the past 6 months of videos that I want to do. And I really do want to do them. But to come in here and just do this, I'm just like, yeah, no. And it's so weird, because I think that when you're going through, surgery or troubled times at work or troubled times in your home life or whatever it may be, you would go to your craft. Instead, some of us go the other way.
Absolutely. I think I relate to all the things. It's a weird thing, isn't it? And I've been meaning to actually create a piece on this for my spellcasters, but the Lady Grave Dancer has done a video about this, witches who don't witch.
Mm-hmm.
And I have that innate thing as well. And again, always have, even when I was a Christian and back then doing spirituality a little bit differently. And it's that drawing inwards to self. And I think what has helped me the most with all of this is taking the pressure off myself. And it's difficult to do, but allowing myself to have my process. So to actually release the guilt, which is something that needs to be done more than once, right?
Yeah.
As many times as it needs to be done, and just be okay with where I'm at. Like, and know, like, have the trust that when I am ready, I will be doing the things again. But for right now, what my soul is calling for is some chill time,
Right.
to not be doing the things for whatever reason. And I don't think we need to figure out the reason either. It's like, if there's just that thing there where you're constantly always like the pressure to want to, but it's not happening, like, just go, okay, like, let's just take the foot off the brake and just off the accelerator and just like allow it. So I think releasing guilt is hugely important. And when we do, I think that's when whatever it is that needs to happen actually begins to happen as well. So it can speed the process along, because you're not sitting in that stop-starty, like, that
Right.
resistance. Release the resistance and just do what you need to do for yourself. And yeah.
I think that's a really good way of looking at it, because I didn't really think about it that way either. And then, Jim Grey Wolf had a really good thing here, kind of going along with what Owlvine had said. Your magic deserves more, so you have to take that time to step back. Don't do that half-assed job of forcing yourself. I mean, there's been some times where I've forced myself to go out on a nature hike, or forced myself to come in here and do just like a fucking stick of incense, or draw a card or something. Force myself, and I do feel a lot better. But you should never have to force yourself for the reason of not feeling worthy of your own magic. Because she's right, your magic does deserve more. Your craft deserves more, and whatever it may be.
Yeah. Well, and I think it goes on with that pressure too of being witchy every day and needing to be witchy every day. And then it's like this modern thing to me, which is a witchy room. It's a witchy room. And I think we all get like this attachment to the witchy room, and all witchiness is exclusive to the witchy room, and I don't know. Sometimes I do feel like it's an anchor, and then other times I feel like it's a beacon of light. It just depends on the day or the hour.
Remember, the three of us have witchy rooms. We're all sitting in them right now. But at the same time, the three of us are lucky. I happen to, have an awesome husband that when we were looking for this house, he's like, we would look at houses and he'd be like, how many bedrooms is that? Nope, not enough. How many bedrooms is that? Like, he was looking for us to have my own witchy room. He's like, how many bedrooms? Nope, not gonna work for my wife. Like, he was actually looking, for me to have this space, because most of you have been following me for a while. It was in a corner of my bedroom, and it just wasn't working out. There was just no privacy, So being a solitary eclectic witch, like, I have to have that privacy where I can close the door and be in my own space. But there's a lot of us out there who don't have what the three of us have. We don't have rooms in our houses to go to practice. Some people do still practice in their bedroom or their living room or what have you, So it's kind of one of those things like, we need to sometimes maybe take the magic with us to, for me, I should be taking the magic with me to my bed. If I'm bedridden for a couple of days, well, shit, so that's what I did. I came in here and I'm like, I'm going to read this book if it kills me, because the wild magic book I've been trying to get through for the past 3 months, just because I've been busy with work, I haven't been able to read it. So I'm like, if I'm bedridden, shit, this book's coming with me. And that's kind of how I have tackled also a couple of things, the book issue of having too many books and not reading them, but also, keeping my spirit alive, my craft alive, while I'm sitting in my bed watching reruns of Bar Rescue, Yeah.
I think what Noah said is really good too, is that burnout's also okay. And FYI, totally fucking normal. Like, we all have stages where it's just not that much of a thing. And, you take the guilt off, you find little ways like you've done to actually help yourself do a few things. Like, I do find that, especially not being even, in my space, what I'll do is I'll just keep one or two. I've got to be careful with overloading, but things that I want to get to. And if it's like in my face a little bit, it's like it's right there. It's easy to pick up. Oh, I'll just read a page or whatever it is. Like just chunking it all the way down, you know, making it simple, easy to get to. Yeah.
Do you think all those pressures have to do with like that? I think someone was saying in the chat too, like formal religion and Hollywood, like the pressure of like what a witch is. Do y'all think it has a part that pressure feeds all of this of like trying to achieve some sort of like ultimate, I don't know if status is the word, but like ultimate caliber within our practice? Do you think it all feeds that same kind of desire or dream?
That's a good question. I think certainly all media and everything that we consume, you know, affects our ideas of these things. For me, what's in my head is the image of what you were talking about before, is that witch in the woods, you know, this woman who is just like weaving magic all day, and then like the people come and she helps them, and like the little birdies do all the work for her or whatever it is, you know, just like this life. And I don't know, we all have some kind of image of what we are supposed to live up to, quote unquote. And yeah, I think it's fed by all that kind of stuff. But I think I wonder how modern it is, because we are so lucky these days. Like oh my God, it's just such a huge thing. Okay, so we don't have to survive. We don't have to work on our survival every single day. Right. Like we all have, well, most of us have jobs that we go to or whatever it is. And yeah, that pays the bills, but we don't have to spend 12 hours cooking food. It doesn't take us 5 hours to clean our clothes. Like we're not having to put, like, our entire lives aren't taken up with survival anymore, like our ancestors were, and like some people still are in different places. So we've got a lot of mental space now. We've got this pressure to make something of ourselves, to find our meaning and purpose. Because before, our meaning and purpose was survival. Like that's all you're thinking about. But now we've got the privilege and the curse of having all of this mental space to fill up, you know. And so we're like, well, what do we ultimately want to be? You know, like we've got this new problem that hasn't been a thing for most of our ancestors, you know. So whatever it is, I think it's seated in that, and then the other stuff feeds into it.
Yeah, no, that actually makes a lot of sense. You know, I didn't really think about it until you said that. Like, if we think about the old times where it took like 12 hours to cook a meal over, you know, in a cauldron over, you know, a fire pit somewhere. I mean, shit, we pop shit in the microwave. It's TV dinner. We're done. You know, so like, really, honestly, what are we complaining about if you really think about it? I mean, it's kind of sad because I'm thinking to myself. And the next topic I was going to talk about was like, you know, working 40 hours or 40 plus hours a week and being so exhausted that we feel like we don't have enough time, or we don't want to really sit down and meditate, or we don't want to do our daily card pulls, or, you know, brew up a potion for whatever it may be. You know, we feel like, oh my God, how do I work? Because that's how I feel, you know, because I work nights. I work from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. I work 12-hour shifts, and they're long. And by the time I get home, I'm like, yeah, fuck that. You know, I'm like, I see the bed, I see my pajamas, and I'm out. You know, so then it comes, days go by, and then I go for my 3 days off, and I'm like, yeah, I'm still so tired. I don't even want to, but I have to do that spell for that thing. But you know what? That can wait until next month. No, it really, you know, you're battling with yourself and your brain. But I feel like sometimes being, you know, a full-time mom, a wife, you know, having a full-time career, it's a lot, you know. But then where do you find the time for that utmost thing that's so important to all of us? Because it's not like we're putting on the back burner because it's not important. It is like one of the forefront things. But I think that we feel guilty, like we were saying earlier, we don't give it the love and attention it needs, because it is so important.
For sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one. For me, I feel really blessed. I work from home, and so what I have done over years is to put in little things. and you were talking a little bit about this earlier, Brittany, is like, you know, and I've heard many people talk about this, and in the chat I saw a few people saying it as well, but adding in those tiny moments of magic into what you're already doing, which is the old ways, right? So like we look at like brewing potions and the floor washers and the this and that, because they're just the domestic tasks that were happening every single fucking day, and magic was weaved into them. And so, you know, trying to find those ways, and it does take time to think about it, particularly in a modern world when it's like, well, you know, I'm not mopping my floor every day, you know, I'm actually driving to work, or, you know, whatever it is. So to find those small things, and I think books are helpful in that regard. You know, like, you know, there are people out there that have some really good ideas about that kind of thing. But maybe that's why like a journaling practice is good, but I don't know. I mean, ultimately, I think it's just testing, you know, testing things out and listening to other people's ideas. And, you know, there are a lot, actually. I was shocked when I did, I think it was the daily practices. I made a daily practices video, and people came under with like all these things that they do. And like so many of them were ridiculously simple, but I was like, wow, like I'd never thought of doing that, you know? So taking down some of those ideas and that's what I've done just slowly over time, is like I've added one little thing here, one little thing there. I have a daily practice that I'm happy with now, but it began so simply. Like, and I said in that video, it was literally fill up a cup of water, put it on the altar. I didn't add any prayers at that point. There was no anything else that I had to do. It was like just getting into this little habit. And I've created a small practice now around that one simple little thing. And it was over years. Like, it wasn't like, it was like, oh, okay, and next month I'm ready to like spend 5 minutes at the altar. Oh, and the next month I'm ready to do a half an hour or whatever it is, you know? So yeah, I don't know. Just, I think that, I mean, that's what magic is, isn't it? It's weaving things into whatever our lives already are, like making it work for us. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it has to fit into your life. It has to fit into your schedule, however you can fit it in. I mean, my daughter still has her own practice because she likes to wash her hands and her feet every night with the Florida water or tobacco water, because she says that it keeps her nightmares away. So I was like, that's perfectly fine. So she does that every night, and she's like, "Are you gonna come in here?" I'm like, "Sure." But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I definitely feel like it elevates you, like, emotionally. I think when you have like a daily practice, like first thing in the morning, at least for me, when I was doing it, it does like elevate you. It makes you feel better, connected.
Maybe I don't know if this is a thing, but like, I mean, maybe feel like, because it is something that you want to do. And I was there for a long time where it was like, I just wanted to do this thing, but I just couldn't figure it out. Like, you had a practice before, and whatever it is for right now is clearly too much. Yeah. So maybe thinking about just like one thing that literally takes 30 seconds, you know, 1 minute, whatever it is, that's already kind of like, you know what I mean? Just like strip it all the way back. And then you give yourself a pat on the back. So when you do that thing, you're like, hell yeah. You're not like, oh, well, I wish I was still doing the other however many things. It's like, no, this is what I'm doing. This is my thing. And when I do it, like, I'm an awesome witch, you know?
That's true, because I had been putting on that pressure of like, okay, I got to get back to doing this, and this, and this, and this is how I was doing. This is what I've been up to. It's been like, it took me like 5 months to like build up to this point. And it's kind of, I mean, it has been that pressure of like, okay, I have to immediately go back to that. So maybe that is what I need to do. Just like, fuck the bullshit. And I'm just going to start with this one thing, and we can go from there.
I haven't even gotten to that one thing, like, at all. Like, I mean, I look around my room here, and like, I can't, there's nothing I do in here on a daily thing. It's just so, like, I don't go over there, and I don't sit over, like, I don't do anything specific. Like, this is the first time I've been in here today. And since Tuesday, since my surgery, I think I popped in here to grab a book off the thing. I popped in here to get a glue stick for my son. Like, I haven't done anything. You know, I actually found myself bringing incense into the bedroom, and maybe that was my subconscious thing that I was doing. I'm like, well, it was actually because the bathroom smelled, because my husband farted in it. But anyway, whatever reason. I was like, God damn.
I hear that.
It became a thing. Like it became like a thing. Like after that, I was lighting incense every day for the past 3 days.
That's awesome.
I mean, hey, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, really. But I do think, I don't know. I still think it's that pressure that like you feed yourself. And maybe, I don't know. I haven't really been heavily on Instagram, so maybe I haven't felt like the heavy pressure to like be something else right now. But it's like, I don't know, when you're being fed all this imagery, it like messes with your psyche, you know, or you're seeing people you admire or whatever, and you're like, damn, like, fuck. Why does it have to be so hard for me?
Anybody else though? I've never.
No,
like,
I'm not saying be somebody else, but you want to be like I admire you and your commitment to your craft, and I wish like I could.
Inspired by them, don't you?
Yes, and it's like
yeah, okay. I was gonna say, I'm like, I've never wanted to be anybody else. I'm perfectly
like
happy.
no. Like I just want to like quit my job, shut off the electricity, live off the land, and like sing to the grass. Like that's what I want to do. And that's like my ultimate right there.
Love it. Yeah.
So, Brittany, do you have anything you needed to share?
Oh, I almost forgot.
Yeah.
So, as you know, we do every month. We are sponsored by Bloodbath Products. That is who sponsors Wine and Witchcraft. So I have been using this product, and actually it was great because as we were talking about earlier, you know, taking a shower has been like a project recently. You know, it's I'm so glad I have the thing on the shower that detaches, you know, the thing that detaches from the shower, because if not, it would be a whole shit show. But, you know, washing my hair has been a thing. My hair is very, very fine. So this product has been really, really good. This is Bloodbath's Argan Oil Hair Shine. So, and it's in Gravedigger. That's the smell, the scent, and it's a perfume serum. But I don't have a lot of time. Like when I'm in the shower and I'm shampooing it, it's kind of like going like this. I don't really get all the conditioner in there. So this stuff, it's argan oil, and it smells like their Gravedigger scent, which is great. And it keeps your hair smelling of the Gravedigger just basically all day. But it gives that softness back. Because honestly, like trying to shampoo and condition, because my hair is very fine. So if I don't condition my hair, it's going to look like ass, honestly. So being able to use this stuff, like once this is gone, I'm going to buy a shitload more in like every single thing. So this is the product that I just wanted to showcase this month. This is by Bloodbath Products. They are our sponsor for here for Wine and Witchcraft. And if you use the code WAW15, you get 15% off your total purchase over at Bloodbath Products. So thanks again to Bloodbath Products for sending us some awesome products. Good stuff.
We're speaking robot.
Amazing.
Yay! So yeah, modern witches. What the fuck?
We're a special kind of fucked up, really, aren't we?
I know, right? Oh God.
No, but I mean, I have to say with the whole aesthetic thing, you know how, Justin, you were saying earlier how aesthetic actually helps us get in the mood. I mean, how many y'all, and I know, Owlvine, I know you're right there with me. Stevie Nicks, we get that play in the background, we're there. We're done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that is part of the aesthetic as well. That's like, you know, you flip on some Stevie and whatever you're doing, you're good. You know what I mean? Like, aesthetic does help us. I mean, for me, I love that whole entire, you know, early 1800s aesthetic. So, you know, when I write my spells, I write in quill and ink. I don't use ballpoint pen. You know, I use the whole, you know, quill and ink thing. The aesthetic, it get me in that mood. It puts my flow, my intention better on the petition papers. You know, there's certain things that I do that, you know, people always foo aesthetics. Well, in some situations, aesthetic actually helps your intention. It helps your craft along. So, you know.
We lost you.
Yeah, she's fallen into the abyss.
Come back to us. Come back. Oh, there we are. Hello?
Jack? Jack, please.
Jack.
Wake up.
I'm here. Oh, you guys froze on me.
Oh, there we go. I hear voice. Jack is back. No.
I'll never let go. Oh gosh. Aesthetic.
I was here the whole time. You guys are the ones that froze on me.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it was our fault. It was for sure.
Yeah, it was us. We were the culprits.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Aesthetic is fine. It's just trying to keep up with the Witchy Joneses. That's an issue. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. If it's a problem, it's a problem. If it's not, then do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. Fuck. I mean, how do you guys feel about, do you guys use pop culture as like references in your practice?
Mm-hmm. I do. Not hang on, I'm just going to see if that's a thing. Yeah, not super heavily. But I certainly do. I really love the idea. I came across it a few years ago through chaos magic. And I was like, this is such a cool idea, you know, and because we've got such a strong connection, obviously, with modern story, I think it's a really cool thing to weave in, like, because you don't have to do a whole lot of work to emotionally connect to it, like you would say if you're using a pop culture figure as it's kind of a deity. You know, you don't have to try and find connection or build connection with them like you would like a Greek goddess or whatever who's like not been in your wheelhouse, but it's like there's all this mythology or whatever already there. I think it's a really, really cool idea. And even just sort of like stepping into the energy of that. Like if you're going like, I'm gonna be Sally Owens right now or whatever, you know, like you can just, I think it's a really, really cool concept to like play with.
Yeah, because I had never seen it before, and Brittany actually has, I believe she used it already, a Sophia candle from Golden Girls.
Ah, awesome.
And I was just like, and how she used it was so, I believe she used it already. You already used it, right? I know you told me how you were going to use it, but I don't know if you used it yet. But
yeah, that's been for a while.
I had never known anybody to use like a pop culture reference like that until she was like, hell yeah, I'm using this fucking candle. It's not just for looks. And I was like, okay. She was like, yeah, I'm going to tap into that Sophia energy. Yes. And I just thought that was so cool. And then there's been other people talking about it. And Noah went live, I think yesterday, and he was talking about that show. I already forgot the name of it. Brittany and I were watching it too. It's like on ABC Family. It's like the witches are the army. I can't remember what it's called anymore. But he was talking about how he was so inspired about the way that they move their tongues and how they sing and how they move their hands. And I don't know, I just thought it was so cool about, you know, using pop culture references in your actual practice, like current references, and tapping into that, like, I don't know, that energy that it has. I had never thought about doing that before.
Yeah, for sure. Is that The Magicians? Is that what you're talking about?
I think it was The Magicians, yes.
Yeah.
Motherland, Fort Salem. Have you seen Motherland, Fort Salem? But I know what you're talking about with The Magicians, with all the like.
With the hand, that's why, I thought.
Yeah, I think she fell out. I think she's going to have to jump back in.
Okay.
But yeah. And then I think they were talking about like Anthony Bourdain and other people trying to like tap into these energies and these, I don't know. I just think that that's so cool.
Yeah, it is. Like, yeah, because the energy is so strong, isn't it? Like,
yes,
right there for us to like tap into. And yeah, it is really cool. Actually, I was just going to ask Brittany, but she disappeared, if she was happy to share a little bit about what she was using Sophia for, but maybe later.
Yeah, she just said, sorry, my internet died. She's trying to fix it now. I believe it was for like ancestry and heritage, you know. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're familiar with the Golden Girls, I would assume. I think everybody is.
Not heavily, but I do, yes.
Okay. You know, she's all about like family and connection and staying connected to your family and your heritage and stories about Sicily. So I think that's how she worked it. And I don't know, ever since I'm like, I need a Buffy candle because I want to tap into that like fierce feminine energy.
Yeah, Buffy's a cool one. You could totally do it yourself. All you have to do is print off a picture and just stick it on a candle.
That's true. I just get so nervous. I'm like, I'm the least craftiest person like I think that has ever been born. I'm like, I'm gonna completely destroy it.
Give it a go. You can. I believe in it.
I absolutely should.
That would be very cool, though.
Yes, she's writing me now.
Oh, yes, everyone's saying love the magicians. It took me so long to get onto that show. I read the book first and I didn't love it, and then she back. But yeah, I'm watching now.
Guys, there's a really bad storm, and the whole house lost internet. Like that's what's going on with my internet. If it's been cutting in and out, I swear to you, it's not my fault. There's a really bad storm going on right now, a hurricane or tropical storm, something, I don't know. And it's my internet's just shit. Yeah. So sorry. It might happen again. I don't know. The whole house just lost internet. And of course my 8-year-old just went like, oh my God, my Minecraft just shut down. Everybody just flipped out. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's all good. I'm using my husband's phone as a hotspot because our internet doesn't reach very well down here. So that's why I was like, all right. All right,
are you in the basement? Are you like downstairs, like in the ground?
No, so it's all one level, but the house is brick. And for some reason, there's kind of a brick wall that goes through the middle of the house. So there's like a doorway gap, but and our internet's down the other end of the house. So it's usually fine. But like if I'm doing a webcam type thing, it'll be jumpy and whatever. So
okay.
Yeah, it's his phone. So he's getting calls through my phone now because he works at home as well. And so anyway. That's what's happening here. So and luckily,
okay. So what did I miss? What did I miss for the 3 minutes that I was trying to get?
So we were talking about like using current pop culture in your craft and how like that affects your craft. So I was talking about the Sophia candle. So if you're open to talking about it, how did you use like that Sophia energy? Like what did you use it for?
Okay, so with the Golden Girls, every single Golden Girl has a different personality archetype. They have different things they bring to the table, and that's what makes the show what it is. Now, obviously. It's Estelle Getty, and Estelle Getty's not really Sophia Petrillo. It's a completely different thing. She's a fictional character. What I wanted to do is I wanted to tap into that archetype, that part of what Sophia brings to the table in that show. Like her witty, smart, sarcastic attitude, the comedy, the strength that she has, being a little woman from Italy, and coming here to New York and then, having a stroke and then ending up in Miami with, her daughter and her daughter's, friends living in a house, that energy, that strength that she had. I want to tap into who Sophia Petrillo was and bring that energy in that part of my life, because I was going through a big, huge career change. And I just really wanted to be able to not really laugh at the situation, but be as lighthearted, but strong and, no nonsense kind of woman at the same time. So I dressed the candle with all the herbs and oils that I felt, magically contributed to that. And then I set my intention underneath the candle and I lit it up and it went on. And I found myself getting more confident. When stuff would stress me out, I would just be like, make jokes about it and laugh it off. It really helped me give that whole Sophia Petrillo courage that I wanted. So yeah, that's the first time I've ever kind of tapped into pop culture to use it. But I had this Sophia, it was kind of like my husband had bought the Sophia candle. It was, a 7-day candle with Sophia Petrillo on the outside as a saint. And, my husband had bought it for me for Christmas one year, kind of just as not a gag gift, because it's not really a gag gift. It was a fun gift. But, and I didn't ever want to burn it, but then it was sitting here and I was staring at it. And I'm like, you know what if I were to tap into everything that character is? And by God, it worked. It totally worked, because that candle was a pretty strong spell that I did. So, first time I've ever done it. And would I do it again? Absolutely.
Yeah, I completely fucked it up. I thought you did it for heritage. I completely forgot what you used that fucking candle for.
No.
But I'm not Italian. Thing as well. It could have been a thing as well. So that's another cool example of like how you can use pop culture as well. Like for anyone who wants to play with it, who's watching this, like there's so many things. And because we are so emotionally connected and we're like watched their stories for however many years or whatever it is, like, it's so powerful. I think it's really cool. And I love that it's becoming a bit more popular now. Like I'm seeing more people kind of chatting about it. I just think it's such a powerful way to tap into energy, which is all magic is at the end of the day, energy.
I mean, think about the person who wrote the character of, Sophia, Dorothy, Blanche. I mean, someone had to put their thought and their process and their energy into that character, so you got to think about that aspect too, is these things are manifestations of someone's psyche somewhere. I mean, look at the cast of Charmed. When they came up with the cast of Charmed with Piper and all, and Prue, they came up with these characters, and put these storylines together. That's kind of meaningful if you think about it.
Absolutely, that creation. And it's also that they are, in the same way as deity and all these things, they're being fed the energy of all of us too. Like they essentially become egregores. Like we're all, they have that strong energy because, I mean, how many millions of people have watched that show, over the years and like watched her, and she's become like a thought form, an energy that's tangible to tap into for sure.
Yeah. And we were also talking about Noah was talking about Fort Salem, Motherland, and how he's inspired about like how they use their hands. Yeah.
I'm gonna write it down. I gotta look it up.
You would love it. You would absolutely love it. That's so good.
I just never thought about that before. Like it was Tasha that brought it up, I think last time, right? When we were talking about deity, and like, just like Owlvine was saying, like if millions of people are feeding this archetype, like feeding this character, like all that energy is there to be tapped into. I don't know. Right. I just think that it's, I don't know. It seems so simple, but I never thought about it before.
Yeah. I didn't until I had some shit go down on Instagram, which kind of sounds weird, but I was reading this book called, oh shit, what's it called? It's hang on, let me have a look. Oh, that's right. One sec. Don't look at my tracksuit pants. You guys, it's a secret. I'm always in half pajamas when I make videos. All right.
Oh, so am I.
I was like, yeah, you guys are YouTubers. You totally get it. So it's egregores, right? And it's a heavy read. Like it's very academic for me anyway. But he's essentially talking about these thought forms and how like how countries are a thought form, and how different groups like football teams have their own like egregore thought form, and deities and all these kinds of things. And I didn't think about it until I kind of came up against this particular thought form. And I was like, damn, and it like just showed me how that's such a thing. But as you feed or pay attention to anything, whatever it is, a team, a being, a group of people, like it creates this energy thing, which some of them can get very demanding. In the book, it's really interesting. He talks about Buddha, so Buddhism as one of the examples, and how it's really fascinating stuff. And I didn't fully understand all of it. I've got to read it again, but just some of them become very demanding, and how they just kind of, they need more energy. And I think we're seeing that with a lot of the political stuff going on right now. Yeah. There's some like really intense egregore shit going on there. But then there's also that energy to tap into. And he was talking in there as well about how there's like almost like, the way I understood it is like levels of deity. So he was saying there's like your Morrigan, right? The Morrigan that you connect with, but then there's like the egregore Morrigan. So there's like another level of energy that like the collective that you can tap into, and that's like different. I don't know. I've just kind of opened up a thing I don't fully understand, but very interesting stuff.
I mean, it is interesting. It is honestly very interesting. Because when we did a show about deity with Tasha, we were talking about this really isn't the topic, but who cares? Like, are deities were they actual living beings? Are they actually real? Were they ever actually real? Or are they archetypes, characterizations that have been put together and then fed by millions of people through eons of time, and then they stay alive by constant worship, or however we use them? And will that translate in 1,000 years from now, are we going to think Sophia Petrillo is actually the goddess of, strength or, whatever? Is it just perception? How much does that play in like the idea of deity as a whole?
Then you have the whole Greek myth, and the whole word myth is saying that something is not real. You see what I'm saying? You have Greek mythology. Well, Greek mythology is basically saying that it's just a story.
Right. But it's fed.
But you look at certain things, and there's a lot of people out there that think that Hecate was a living, breathing, real person at one time. Her name may have not been Hecate, but she was an actual person. Just like they're saying, that different gods and goddesses were actual real people, but over time they've become this different thing. I mean, as we see, Jesus was an actual real person at one point.
Right.
You know what I mean? So is it the same kind of concept as Jesus, where it was a living, breathing, real person? But then, of course, some fiction and story has kind of preluded that. I mean, it's one of those things you really just kind of you don't really know. I guess everybody kind of sees deity a little bit different in that way, because I do believe that there are some deities that actually were 100% living, breathing people at one point in time, and then I think there are some that are just energies that we work with. I think it's kind of both ways, depending on who you're talking about working with.
Yeah, for sure. I think, everything is based in some kind of fact, isn't it? Or or trying to understand as well. Because obviously, even if, say, any of the deities were actual people, they weren't what we know them as now, or what they became at the height of their worship or whatever.
Right.
It was all this other stuff put onto it, and people's understandings and desires and, all that other stuff, where they became something not human, for sure. But yeah, it's really interesting to think about. Definitely. You're just like, I don't know. It's one of those rabbit holes you can just kind of get down, isn't it? And
yes, because it's like, okay, so because I was like reading about Hecate and like academic stuff and like, hardcore like evidentiary type stuff, not necessarily like feeling and practice. And it's like, now they're saying she's like from East Asia, is like part of her origins are from East Asia. And so like I was talking to Brittany, it's like, okay, so what am I tapping into? Like, am I only tapping into like what I'm conscious of? Is that all I'm able to connect with? Are you able to like to connect in it? And maybe like similarly to what you were saying, like on different levels, like, am I just like on the base level because I only understand her as this? Or is she like this great Eastern Asian goddess of God knows what, war, death, I don't know, childbirth? Like, do you have to like be enlightened to like get to that level? Like, how does that work? I don't know. It's just so interesting to me because I feel like at the end of the day, we're never really going to know the origins of where she came from, really. But it's still a very fascinating thing to, research and to fall down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. I think it's a good, I don't know, it's good to think about stuff like that, get outside the box a bit. And yeah, I mean, my ultimate view of deity, which again, not the topic, but we're here now, is that like there is actually I don't even really, it's not a whole lot anymore. I'm like, since I don't make videos on YouTube, I mean I am now, but I'm like, I don't have to think about all this shit anymore. I'm just doing what I'm doing. Ultimately there's like God or divinity, whatever. I know a lot of people are uncomfortable with the word God. I've made peace with it. I'm cool.
I'm good with that.
God,
I use it.
and then there's like the energies within, and we can tap into those, and that it makes it a bit more personal, like because they're not human, but they are very human-like. There's a lot of human traits that they have, and we connect with different ones for different reasons in our particular kind of pagan sphere. We've got the way we do it, all these options that we can, connect with or whatever. But yeah, ultimately, I think there is just divinity, but when I went through a stage, it was, I think the year or maybe the year before I stopped with YouTube, I was just going through this existential crisis because I was like, what the fuck is real? What do I believe? What is God? Like, what the deity? I don't know. Like,
yes.
And it just did my head in. And what I came to the conclusion of eventually, because I do work with several deities now, is that like I just realized if I just go on universe, if I'm just thinking universal energy, it doesn't feel connective. It's too vast and too unhuman, and actually connecting with human-like figures helps me to feel like, to like have a chat, like I'll sit down and chat with Baba Yaga, or whatever.
Yes.
And yeah, it gives me that thing that I'm looking for. And when it was just universe, I was just feeling like I was floating out in the middle of space, and I was like, like I don't know what,
It's so funny you're saying this, because like I think like 8 months ago, me and Brittany were voice memoing, and I was driving her crazy because I'm like, okay, so is Hecate real, or is she just like a fragment of like what God is? Like what you're saying, is it all funneled back to the same place? And then if it is, what is that place? Where is it? What does it even mean? Is everything witchcraft? Like Christianity's witchcraft. Let's be real. Like Catholics are witches. They just don't know it.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And then I'm like, she's like, you have to stop because you're going to drive yourself crazy. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. It doesn't make sense. How are they? And so I kind of came to the conclusion, like, even what Nectar Ascension Arts is saying, like, okay, this is how I feel. Like God, Supreme Being, and all the others are like connectives, like connect us to that in whatever avenue we need, whether it's healing, protection, or, whatever the case may be, whatever we're trying to use or work with the deity for. It makes it easier, and makes it more human to be able to relate to Hecate's story and the whole thing. And it makes it more personal.
There's definitely going to be something more involved that we're working with here, because in instances where, I started working with Cernunnos. Now, at this time, I had never heard of him before. I felt his energy when he came into the room under certain circumstances, and now I know why. But at the same time, I had no idea, as a reminder, at that time, I still believed that I wasn't any Irish whatsoever. He's an Irish deity. I had no idea. I was told that I was no way, shape, or form Irish. My parents were like, nope, we're not Irish. Like they were trying to like not tell us we're Irish. So I had connected with Cernunnos on a level I had never connected with a deity in my life in that month. And to find out later on, you're 52% Irish and this is exactly where you came from. And then to find the story of Cernunnos and how they all just completely just intertwine like that. I'm like, okay, there's something more at work here that, I didn't even realize, because I had no idea who Cernunnos was at the time. I had no idea he was Irish, and I had no idea I was Irish. So you got to ask yourself. You can't just say, "Oh, this is all just foo-foo," and it's all in our figment of our imagination, because it's not.
100%.
Well, no, and I think if you look on like a Christian level, which I know, Brittany, you didn't grow up Christian, but like even in the Bible, we're all made in God's image. We're all made in that kind of connected way. So even in that statement, we are divine beings, regardless of whether you're looking at it as a pagan perspective, as a Christian perspective, as whatever, we are connected to whatever that is, whether I'm right, you're right, whoever is right and wrong, we're all connected to like whatever that divine energy is, whatever that divine source is. And I guess at the end of the day, all of this, the crystals, the chants, the prayers, it's all just ways to like connect better with that, to move magic, to make change happen, which Definitely. Is super beautiful.
You had brought up, Justin, that in your I'm a Bad Witch video that you sometimes question, is any of this real? Like, is this, see, that's the weird thing is I don't. Like, I've seen so many instances where I'm told that it's like, I've been proven that it's not fake, that doesn't even cross my mind anymore. Now, earlier in my craft, like if you want to talk like 13 years ago, absolutely. But throughout the years, I don't question it anymore. But, there are a lot of people like you that do question it, that go like, am I just making all this up? Like, is this even like a real thing? But I don't, for some reason. Like I used to, yes. But when you think about witchcraft and how long it has spanned, look at tarot. it has worked and it has made its way to 2021 and still continues on. It wouldn't continue on that long if there wasn't some truth in it. Witchcraft would not have been the very first, paganism would not have been the very first religion of mankind and then continued on all this time if it didn't have validity to it. You know what I mean? So you got to think to yourself, like, obviously, if we're still practicing it and actually practicing now more than ever, as a society, you got to ask yourself, like, if, the things that you're thinking that maybe it's not real, you got to kind of put that in the back burner because it's pretty much proven that it is.
Slam dunk. So
mic drop.
I'm just analytical and I question everything.
I think I think we all go through stages. I hated the stage when I was questioning because it's just uncertainty, isn't it? It's horrible. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I can't just settle somewhere. And I've heard from a few other people over the years who are in the same place now, or, whenever they spoke to me or whatever. And it does feel gross. And it is about but I think it can be a really good thing because then you come to conclusions and you find those things where you're like, well, this is my logic of it, well, I've seen that it's true, that's something for you, Brittany. It's like, here's all the evidence, so I'm cool. But it forces you outside of your box when those things happen. It's horrible when it does happen, but I was grateful for my time in the abyss, and it helped me to. What did it help me to do? It helped me to find a more grounded place, but also to be okay with not knowing as well. So I've got my ideas and my beliefs, and I like it. Sometimes it's still very challenging, but I like to be able to be open to other people's ideas and beliefs as well, even though they're so different to mine. And I think the abyss is something that can teach you that, depending on who you are and your process. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, none of us really know. Like, everything is faith-based and personal, and, people over there going, oh my gosh, how can you not know that, like, this is the truth? And we're over here going, well, we believe this thing. How can you not know that this is the truth? But at the end of the day, like, who the fuck knows? And that's really exciting. I think it's a really exciting thing. It's very ungrounding, but it's exciting as well. I don't know, just to have that mystery,
It is. And I mean, I never really asked the question until after so much time of, being a witch or doing witchcraft, I never involved any deity work. Like, I never, ever. And then the questions really didn't start coming up until I started, using deity and Judeo-Christian figures and saints. And then eventually, Hecate, that I really started like, what is this? Like, what do I believe? What the hell is happening? And I still have moments, but, being in that space, I do feel like does give you freedom to just feel however, question whatever. And eventually it all does kind of make sense. It's just, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it's the Virgo, the stable, like, grounded person. I'm overthinking it. This is crazy. This would have happened regardless. Let's be honest here. But then at the same time, I'm like, the fuck it wouldn't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
That is
I'm a conundrum.
All right. Well, it is 10:30 and we're going to close up the show. So I want to thank you so much, Miss Owlvine, for coming out and joining Wine and Witchcraft. It was so funny because, like, when we're going through, like, guests to have on the show, I said to Justin, I'm like, I really, really, really want to have Owlvine on the show. And then he goes, then ask her. I'm like, she's not going to have time for us.
Of course. You guys,
so I was so excited that you came on.
I love Wine and Witchcraft, and I told you this off air, but I'll tell everyone needs to know. I love both of your channels so much. Like, honestly, and I've been trying to think like how to describe it, but it's like I get this this really warm sense when I watch either of you. I feel like I get to, like, settle in and just, like, that it's a treat as well. And I feel like there's something so pure, if I can use that word, wholesome. I don't know. There is authenticity. That's what it is. And it's just a pleasure to see you guys, like, share your craft, share where you're at, and just be like, shoot the shit. And, like, this is what's going on. And just that realness, you know, but at the same time it's like entertaining, and yeah, I just love being in space with you, like through the camera, and it's just, I don't know, it's an honor to be here. So thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I love Wine and Witchcraft. Honestly, I watch, normally I don't catch you guys live, but I'm watch. I love this show.
Oh, you were so sweet. Of course. Yeah. She was like, I really want her. I said, so ask her. I can't. There's too much going on. And I said, you're a pussy. Just ask her.
I'm glad.
And she's like, I don't think she's gonna do it. I said, she's gonna do it. Okay. She's gonna do it. It'll be fine. What are you scared of? I was like, if you don't ask her, I'm going to.
Well, she had just come back to YouTube, and I'm like, she just made one video. She just came back. I'm like, she's not gonna have the time right now, and that's why I was like, I'm just gonna ask her. The worst she can say is like, yo, bitch, now. So I'm just so happy that you came on. I loved having the conversation. It was great to talk. It gives us a lot of stuff to different things to think about, different dynamics of things to think about in modern day witchcraft. So thank you so much for sharing your headspace with us.
Yes.
You're welcome.
It was amazing.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.